Okay, so one of our viewers actually sent me this article, and it's titled, Canadian Tourism Slowdown Squeezes US Border Cities. And I'll be honest, it does make me happy to read these kind of headlines. And I know what my haters are going to say after I said that. They're going to say something like, oh, these are people's livelihoods that you're messing with, and this is not something to joke around with. Well, neither is what the rest of the world is going through right now because of your country. And quite frankly, a lot of these border towns do have businesses and citizens that voted for the orange guy. So quite frankly, the rest of the world has a lot of other things to worry about besides these border city businesses. So in this video, I'm going to go through this article, and we're going to talk about the economic impact that we're making to the border towns. Now, if this is the first time you're clicking on my video and you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective, hit that subscribe button below, that way you're notified of my future videos. So just a heads up, I'll read out the article for those who are just listening in, or for those who are visually impaired as well. Alright, let's get started. Sharp decline in cross-border trips and spending. Recent data from Statistics Canada and industry analysts show a sustained slide in Canadian visits to the United States through 2025 and into 2026. Canadian resident return trips from the US dropped by more than 20% year over year in several recent months, with January 2026 marking the 13th consecutive monthly decline in cross-border travel. Publicly available information indicates that the slump covers both leisure and business travel, affecting airline routes, highways, and land crossings. Now, one thing I do want to show here, and it does relate to the cross-border numbers, and it's a screenshot from one of our, it's a screenshot from one of our viewers who actually created this table to show the year-over-year decline, but also the decline from 2024 to 2026. Now, we already knew that British Columbia and Washington State, the border traffic between the province and the state actually breached the 50% mark. 55.7 to be exact. That's if you're comparing 2026 to 2024. Now, before I go over these numbers, I do want to apologize because I took this screenshot from one of our viewers, and I can't remember where I got it from. I can't remember if I got it from Blue Sky or Reddit or Discord or email, and I just can't find it anymore. So to one of our viewers who actually sent this over and created it for me, I sincerely appreciate it. And do me a favor, reach out to me again the same method that you did before. That way I can thank you directly for this. Now, going over the national trend, if we compare 2024 to 2025, it's an 18.8% drop. I guess that's all of last year. Now, to compare the first 3 months of this year to last year, it's also a 22% drop. And if you compare from 2024 to 2026, it's a 44.5% drop. Now, keep in mind, these numbers, I remember the viewer telling me that he used multiple sources for this. So I would just take it as a rough estimate. But we know the Washington State numbers at 55.7% has been reported by Canadian media. Now, moving on to the states, the state of Maine, from 2024 to 2025 is 25%. 2025 to 2026 is 22%, a total of 41.5. Moving on to New Hampshire, 30%, 22%, and 45. Vermont, 27.4, 10.8, and 35.2. New York, 21%, 17%, 34.4%. Guess who's back? Michigan, 20%, 10%, and 28%. Minnesota, 26, 24, and 42. North Dakota, 30, 25, and 48.1%. Montana, 29%, 18.5%, and 42.1%. Idaho, 27%, 24.3%, and 44.7%. Washington State, 35%, 31.8%, and 55.7%. And Alaska, 10%, 20%, and 28%. Again, take these numbers as a rough estimate. But we do know for a fact that the numbers from 2025 to 2026 have continued to decrease from last year. The point of me showing this to everyone is to visually show you that the boycott hasn't bottomed out, it's continuing to go. And with the way things are going right now, it's going to slowly trickle down, or I guess the percentages will slowly trickle up. I would love to see every state above 50%, and who knows, it might be manageable, because some of these numbers are actually pretty close. So again, I want to thank the viewer who created this and sent it over to me, and do please reach out to me, because I can't find your email or message the way you sent it to me. So please reach out to me. Alright, back to the article. I'm going to start skimming over it and just reading out the important parts. Flights and booking data highlight the depth of the pullback. Travel agencies in Canada have reported declines of about 40% in leisure bookings to the US during the key months of 2025 compared to a year earlier, while aviation analytics show cross-border capacity from several Canadian carriers trimmed by double digits. Tourism analytics compiled from Statistics Canada tables also point to a steep reduction in land-based trips, with overnight and same-day car journeys to the United States falling by about 30% year over year in late 2025. Now we have another contribution from the GTL community, and this one comes from YUL Spotter, who has been my go-to guy when it comes to aviation. Being that he works in the aviation industry since I was in high school, he's definitely helped to answer the noob questions that I've been sending over to him. So I want to thank you, YOL Spotter, for your help. But what he has done is help to break down the 2024 to 2025 passenger volumes in the top 10 airports in Canada. And it's broken down into the volume of people, total people, domestic, international, and transborder. Now, I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but you can see that Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, and Edmonton are at the top 5. When it comes to the total packs for 2024 to 2025, there has been an increase in the amount of travelers. Same goes for domestic, and same goes for international. But when it comes to the transborder traffic between Canada and the United States, these are obviously down. Now, I'm sure we would all love to have these transborder numbers at a bigger decrease, but we do have to remember that there is a lot of business traffic that crosses the border. Not only that, transfers from international passengers that do use Canadian airports to go to the United States after. There is one outlier, which is Halifax, and the transborder numbers actually went up 8.5%. And according to YUL Spotter, this was due to Halifax increasing their transborder services, preparing for 2025. But we also have to remember too, the volume in Halifax is 4.14 million, versus the larger cities who are, 22 million and above. But it is good to see all that green on the screen. I mean, the domestic and international have gone up quite a bit, which tells me that Canadians are flying locally in Canada, but we also have more international flights from Canadians, and even international flights from international people coming to Canada. So I'm really curious to see how the 2026 numbers compare to 2024, and I guess we'll have to wait another year for that. But I want to thank you, YEO Spotter, for sending this over to me and sharing it with the community. Now back to the article. The next section is titled, Border Cities Bear the Brunt of Slower Canadian Traffic. The pronounced decline of Canadian visitors is being felt first and foremost sharply along the border itself. Local reporting from communities such as Blaine in Washington State, Niagara Falls and Buffalo in New York, and border hubs in Vermont, Michigan, and North Dakota describe fewer day trippers, emptier outlet malls, and reduced activity at duty-free plazas that depend on cross-border shoppers. Some duty-free operators have publicly reported revenue drops of more than 80% compared with the typical volume, prompting for shorter hours and staff cuts. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys can hear a cat in the background, but it probably doesn't sound like the same meow, because it's actually the Tory that's making the noise, which is very odd because she never does that. Anyways, we know the border towns are struggling, and one of our viewers actually sent me this article. It's titled, Business Owners Are Invited to Take Survey on Canadian Customer Decline. And this is coming out of Blaine, Washington, somewhere I'm very familiar with. And what they're doing is they're asking their businesses in Blaine to take a survey to see how bad the decline has been for their business. I do hope that they make the survey results public, and if they do, I'm going to be sure to report it. Shit, does that make me a journalist and a reporter? I don't want to be that. I just want to be someone that vents. Anyways, moving on. Economic development agencies and state tourism offices in northern U.S. regions have flagged the downturn as a mounting concern. Survey data cited by regional media shows that the majority of tourism businesses in the states like Minnesota expect fewer Canadian customers this year, with particular worry for small hotels, independent restaurants, and seasonal attractions near crossings. In New England, New Hampshire Businesses and Economic Affairs Department has pointed to declines of around 30% in visitors from Canada compared to the pre-downturn levels. Now this next part I think we're going to hear a lot more from in the next couple months. The ripple effects extends deep into the local tax base. Sales tax collection linked to cross-border retail are softening in some municipalities, while hotel occupancy rates in popular Canadian snowboard destinations have also weakened. In communities where winter tourism is closely tied to Canadian skiers and shoppers, industry groups describe a quieter season and a growing need to diversify visitor sources beyond the traditional market to the north. Okay, seriously, what other market are they actually going to be looking at? I mean, do they think it is only Canadians that don't want to go to the United States? I mean, do they really think that they can find another market? Like, what kind of market are they looking for? Asia? Europe? South America? And do they think these people in these regions don't know what's going on right now? I don't know, it just seems so blind if you ask me. So let me know in the comments, what kind of regions do you think they're going to be attracting? And what kind of regions actually want to go to the United States? Now, this next section talks about politics, currency, which I think is bullshit, and perception shift Canadian travel choices. Analysts point to the mix of political tensions, economic headwinds, and changing consumer preferences to explain why more Canadians are staying away from the United States. Now, I actually looked to see where the traveler.org is from, and it looks like it's a publication out of Italy, because the article really does replicate like an article coming out from the US, and I'm going to guess that's where their sources are from. But if the traveler.org ever wants to talk to a Canadian, you know how to reach me. Publicly available polling and travel industry survey conducted in late 2025 suggests that many Canadians are reconsidering U.S. trips in light of the trade disputes, new tariffs, sharper political rhetoric around the bilateral relationship. Sounds like a U.S. publication. Coverage in outlets such as Global News, Axios, and Washington Post has linked the downturn to what some observers describe as cooling of attitudes towards the cross-border travel. I kind of hate this downplaying. It's cooling of attitudes. Like, what is that? Just say it. Canadians don't want to go to the United States because they treat us like shit, they disrespect us, and only want us for our money. And they'll lock us up when it comes to like cross-border stuff. So to the Canadians that are watching this right now, is that more accurate? Or is it more of a cooling of attitudes? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on. At the household level, the exchange rate, has also added another deterrent. The Canadian dollar has hovered near the 70-cent mark against the US dollar during much of the downturn period, raising effective costs of hotels, dining, and shopping south of the border. Travel companies operating in Canada report that the price-sensitive leisure travel are increasingly choosing domestic destinations, all-inclusive packages to Caribbean, longer haul trips to Europe, and Africa over short breaks in the US cities. Man, I'm really getting tired of this exchange rate excuse. Let me pull up my TradingView chart. What you're looking at right now is the Canadian dollar to the US dollar, probably from about June 2014 till now. And that red vertical line, that's the exact date that the orange guy took office. And that rectangular box that you guys see there, it's a range anywhere from about 67 cents to about 74 cents. If you focus on the time from about 2023 to 2025, I guess just before he went into office, it's roughly around the same exchange rate. Give or take a few pennies, maybe a little bit higher than the 74, and even lower than what we're at right now. But you can basically say that when Biden was in the office, from 2023 to when he left, the exchange rate was exactly where it was right now, give or take a few pennies. And Canadians were still going to the United States, despite that. And hell, if I zoom back even more to say like 1999 to 2004, when the Canadian dollar was only worth 61 to about 67 cents, we were still going to the United States. But if I move into a range 1 year before the orange guy took office all the way up until now, you can see there isn't that big of a range. And we were going to the United States before the orange guy took office, we're now not. So I really do hate this exchange rate excuse. It's a load of bullshit, to be honest. Getting back to the article, the next section is states and cities launch campaigns to win Canadians back. Faced with shrinking visitor numbers and softer revenues, several US states and cities have begun rolling out targeted initiatives aimed at their northern neighbors. According to recent coverage citing US Travel Association data, Florida recorded a drop of about 15% in Canadian visitors between the third quarter of 2024 and the same period in 2025. In response, the state tourism arm has intensified marketing in Canadian provinces, promoting beaches and golf getaways with discount packages and renewed advertising in major urban centers such as Toronto and Montreal. Well, Florida, you can go shove your packages where the sun don't shine, because we don't want them. Now I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I'm running out of time. Border states in the Northeast and Midwest, including New York, Michigan, and New Hampshire, are also looking to shore up cross-border ties. Publicly reported efforts range from streamlining winter sports promotions that bundle lift tickets and lodging for Canadian skiers to retail events tied to Canadian holidays. Yeah, those didn't work. Tourism officials in these regions are emphasizing ease of access by car, regional airports that still maintain cross-border flights, and what they describe as welcoming environment for visitors at land crossings. Yeah, CBP is welcoming, right? CBP and welcoming should not even be in the same sentence, and that's even before the orange guy stepped in the office. But these bundles and packages and promotions that they listed, they all failed. I did reports on them. And you know what? Next winter, they're probably going to try it again. Now I'm going to skip to the last paragraph, so if you do want to read the full article, again, the link is going to be in the description below. I didn't realize it would take this long for me to read it. For border cities that built their economies on weekend shopping trips, casino visits, and winter retreats from Canada, the immediate challenge is to adapt before another peak season passes. Local business groups are calling for attention to the importance of stable cross-border relations, visitor-friendly policies, and coordinated marketing to restore some of the lost confidence. Whether those efforts will be enough to reverse the slide, no, it won't, I can tell you right now. In time for the coming summer and holiday seasons remains an open question hanging over communities on both sides of the 49th parallel. If you ask me, I think it's only a question that's going to be on the south side of the 49th parallel. Because for us, north of the 49th parallel, I think we already know the answer, and it's not going to improve for the upcoming summer and holiday season. In fact, when I showed the land crossing numbers earlier, the trend is continuing to go down. No marketing campaign is going to change our mind. No 2-for-1 promos. And no stupid golf balls with like stereotypical Canadian images on them either. If you don't know what I'm talking about, these are the golf balls. And whoever this golf manager is, or whatever he is, decided it was a good idea to put a Mountie, a hockey jersey, and maple syrup on golf balls. And he thought that would bring us to his golf course. I really wonder how that promo went for him. I don't think it went very well. But us Canadians, we gotta be prepared for more of these campaign bullshit stuff. Because summer season is coming up. And one thing we know is that they still want our money. So just be prepared to press that delete button when these stupid promos start coming into your inbox. To close off this video, I would like to give a big thanks to Professor Wayne Smith, who I have had on my channel a few times, and he took this photo from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. We do intend to do a live stream pretty soon, so then that way you guys can have a bit of a Q&A with him when it comes to tourism. Because I'm not a tourism expert, he is. So I do hope to jump on a live stream with Wayne pretty soon, and I'll let everybody know. And thank you again, Wayne, for posting this photo on the Hey Cafe page. Alright, that's all I got for today's video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll get notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.